2, 1, ignition, and lift off. Go Falcon, go Starlink.
All right, that was a SpaceX Starlink launch, sending at least 27 satellites up into orbit. It just took off from Kennedy Space Center down in Florida a few minutes ago. This did very well. It was successful, a successful launch for Elon Musk's company. But last night, it was a different picture. SpaceX didn't have the same good luck. Watch. All right, so that was the company's 9th unmanned test flight of its Starship spacecraft, and then it tumbled out of control. I believe that's what this footage is. It broke apart last night as it descended back down to Earth. Despite some progress, SpaceX said it lost contact with the rocket after it reached space and came back down over the Indian Ocean. Its 2 launches before this also ended with explosions, so that's a 3rd failure. Let's bring in CBS News correspondent Jason Allen from Dallas. The footage, as I told you this morning, it's impressive, but what specifically went wrong?
Yeah, and you were exactly right there, Errol, in that video that you were looking at was the Starship that was spinning out of control. And the reason, at least initially, that engineers think that happened was that there was probably a propellant leak. So then they lost the ability to control the way that the Starship, rolls side to side, moves back and forth, up and down. Think about it when you're in an airplane and it just kind of rolls as it makes a turn. They lost the ability to control that movement. And so then when it happened, it just started to move in any direction that it wanted to. They couldn't orient the Starship then in the right way so that the heat shields were protecting it as it came back down to Earth. And when you can't do that, when it doesn't have the protection from the heat, it just starts to come apart. And when you get further into that flight and you watch the video, you can actually see some pieces of the Starship just kind of start to peel back as they succumb to the heat. So it did make it further than the last 2 flights in January and March, so they feel good about that. But this is another issue that they're going to have to address before the 10th test flight. Right, and you and I were discussing this morning that Musk always says he learned something even from the failures, but this is the 3rd straight failure of the Starship. So how is this delaying the overall mission? That's a great question, and we've already seen, remember, this spacecraft is the one that is intended to take people to not just to Mars, which is what Elon Musk wants, but SpaceX is also under contract to try to help astronauts get back to the moon. And that was already supposed to have happened, I think, by 26. They've pushed that first mission back now to 27. And, those timelines start to come into question when you have mishaps like this happen. Now, Musk said or posted on X after the launch that he wants to speed things up now. Some of that's going to be, out of his hands. The FAA may have to look into this, just as they did the last 2 launches, make sure all of the problems are addressed. But he wants to try to speed up test launches every 3 to 4 weeks. Some of that probably with those deadlines in mind that he has to try to meet, both to get to those NASA contracts and also to make that launch window for Mars, which he hopes to make maybe by next year.
Yeah, and you got billions of taxpayer dollars on this. Meanwhile, China is updating its space technology and trying to get to the moon as well. Jason Allen, we appreciate the update on this. Really interesting stuff.